received the concept note at least, and as it says quite clearly, various prospects and challenges. We find ourselves in a particular historical juncture, I believe, a quite unique position. So we are indeed very lucky to have our two eminent speakers. They are here to talk about this. So I will hand over the mic to them.
Naga leaders here, or the participants here. It is indeed a great privilege and an honor for me to be in your midst today. Not that I know so much, or not that I know everything that I could have answered to any queries that you have, or any questions that you have, or not that I could add on to whatever you have, but I thought, just as an elder, maybe in our Naga journey up to now, or up to this far, whatever I could have experienced along the journey, and that's something which I thought I could share with you. So I would like to thank you all. That's my daughter. I would like to really take this privilege and honor to share with you. I have not, because this is not a seminar or a workshop where we come with paper presentation, but since it's a dialogue, I think we'll dialogue more than just try to share. But having said that, I was just going on thinking that what actually defines you as a Naga? What really defines you as a Naga? And everyone says the Nagas are this, the Nagas are that. I mean, many anthropologists come out and talk about what, but I realized that there's one thing that really, truly defines us as a Naga. And what defines us is that we are headhunters. And we are the offspring of headhunters. If you are not, if your ancestors have not been involved in headhunting, maybe you may not be qualified as a Naga. So it's quite interesting to know that headhunting can qualify us as a Naga. But then, when I was trying to talk to some elders, village elders from my tribe, I was asking them about whether there was any just philosophy behind headhunting, or it was just taking the head of someone as a trophy, or is there any such philosophy why headhunting started? And I was really surprised to find out that actually there was a philosophy behind headhunting, at least in my tribe context. What they believed, or what they understood, was that because the head rules, that it is through the head that rules the village or rules the people, and it is where the head lies the power. It is where the head lies the power to have control over people. So that's why they realize that if you are to take anybody's life at all, or if you really think that it is worth it, the enemy's head is the most worthy one that one must take. And so it's not just taking a head, okay? It is with certain purpose. And they said the more head you can take off your enemy, your village will be more powerful, your village will be more prosperous. That reminds me of the modern day saying, 2 heads are always better than 1. I think so. Then I was just thinking that in school, when I was in school, one of my classmates, we just joined school. That was in West Bengal, and then one of my classmates was told by another Naga student that, "Do you really hunt head?" And as young, we were 11, 12, and he said, "Yes, we do hunt head." He looked at his and said, "And your head will fetch me a watch at home if I take your head." only later on this friend told me, for a very long period in the school, he was so scared of the Nagas because he said anytime anyone may take his hand and the parents would give him a beautiful present of a watch, And fortunately, this friend of mine became a general in the Indian Army. He has retired now, anyway. So there's something about headhunting that identifies who we are. And we don't have to demean ourselves as a people because we did headhunting. But there is a philosophy behind headhunting. But when you talk about headhunting, what are you doing today? Why are you in Delhi? Are you working here? Are you studying here? Or are you pursuing some work? But aren't you doing headhunting? Aren't you also doing headhunting? And today, it's quite commonly accepted about headhunters. The multinationals are looking for people with the brain, with the capability that lies in the brain. So headhunting now is quite well accepted term, in fact, among the corporate sector, that you have experts that go out to headhunt. Why? Because after all, it is where everything is decided. The head is where the capacity, the capability, competency, and achievability comes out from the head. I think that's why it's good that at least our Nagas have shown people about, or we have initiated the philosophy of headhunters, and people have caught up now with the actual headhunting. They don't take head anymore, but nevertheless they're doing headhunting. So we are from that kind of, people that we are. And today, when we are spending this time together, I don't know how much time is given to me, but when we are spending this time together, I want to let you know that we are using this time, borrowed on our children's time, or on your children, or on my children, or my grandchildren. It's not our time. The time that we have is borrowed of the future generation. I think this is what Native Americans truly believe. Whenever they decide something, they decide for their grandchildren. Because it is not my time, it is their time. And therefore the decision or anything that we arrive at should be contributory to the future. So we are on a borrowed time. And when we talk about that borrowed time, even our Naga indigenous, our Naga villages, what do we do? At least that I know about my own tribe, and because I live in Coimba and Antrimwanbut, we don't sell land. We have different kind of lands that we have, like individual land, family land, clan land, then the community. We don't sell land. Why we don't sell land is because we are concerned about the future generation. If we sell off our land, what will our children, our grandchildren, our future, where will they cultivate? Where will they eat? It's because those things are ingrained in us. We didn't study. Nobody taught us about our culture. Nobody taught us about the philosophy behind being a Naga. It's only now we begin to understand, what refined people, or how culturally refined could be these Nagas, who thinks about the future. And today, when we sit here, it's not because of you and me pursuing some studies, or you and me being in a position to travel around, but it's because our forebears, our grandparents, or my great-grandparents, or my others, they at that time, in their own wisdom, had taken some decision. Maybe they didn't sit around in such cozy place with AC. Maybe they sat by a fireplace. But they took some decision. And they took decision based on facts and truth at the time when they could really understand. And we must know a little bit about the Nagas, maybe, that we are being in the Naga homeland where we live. At least what I learned from history is that Colonial in 150 have really identified that, there are people like the Nagas who live in this part of the world. Then later on we come to understand that the Ahom, it was Hyun Sang who has also mentioned about the Nagas. When he visited Assam, the Kamrup, this was in 1643. Then the Ahom, when they came to rule Assam, the Ahom, the Thai Ahom who came from Thailand or maybe from that side to this, they had mentioned about the Nagas. It clearly shows that we were already living in those parts of the world before even the Ahom kingdom was established. So from here, our first contact with the British was in 1832, when the British were, after the Treaty of Yagdabu, the British were trying to find a route from Manipur, Imphal to Dimapur. And then, when they were trying to go through those lands, and they thought, any virgin land is our land, Deradula. Any land that virgin land is our. They didn't realize that there were Nagas who were there to defend their land, because the land means it's a birthright. They identify with the land, and no, you can't touch my land. So the British, anyway, the Nagas fought a very long war with the British, and finally, of course, the Naga Hill District was established in 1875 in Kohima. And but then the British, we know that they could only conquer about 30% of Nagaland, and the land which they occupied, they call it administered area, but the other area were unministered or control area. They couldn't administer control. So anyway, talking about headhunting, I was just surprised about one thing. In the First World War, we have about 5,000 Naga labor corps who went to France. And the Nagas who went to France, and so the kind of a war that the civilized world was indulging in, brutally killing each other, raping the women, molesting women, burning down houses. The Nagas from that background at that time were quite shocked. Are these Europeans? They condemn us for our headhunting, but the way they kill each other. But I think, that kind of an exposure in the First World War gave rise to the kind of Naga consciousness that, hey, we are one people. We belong to each other. We are of the same stock. I think that consciousness, the Naga consciousness, came about at that time. Then the Second World War came, and the Battle of Kohima was so severely fought in Kohima. Now, British government has declared the Battle of Kohima Imphal, because it was fought also in Imphal, so it's Battle of Kohima Imphal, as Britain's most significant battle. But the Battle of Kohima was something that again arose a higher level of consciousness of the Nagas, and particularly their land. Because the Nagas thought, at least this is something which I heard from some war veterans in Kohima, who fought in the Battle of Kohima, or from Kohima village and from Zotsama village, but because it was the nearest, and Merima village elders. They were young boys. They were seeing that, where has this able young white man come from? They would take off their shirt, take their guns, go to the battlefield, and in the evening, the village people will be collecting the dead bodies of those British soldiers killed. Then they see the Japanese, okay, they look like us, but where have they come from? Some thousands of miles away. And what is this going on in Kohima? In my land, for what? I think those were the things that provoked the consciousness, or brought alertness to their consciousness. Oh, land means something. We cannot part with our land. And we have birthright because this is our land. I think this is where the Naga foundations took place. And of course, before the Second World War, the Nagas were quite clear that one day the British would be leaving. In fact, even before the signing of the the signing of the Salmon Commission, once some British administrators, I think it was J.P. Mill, who was in Konoma, and that time one of the village elders said, we know one day you will be living this part of the world, and at that time you must see to it that we are left to determine our own future in our own genius. See, even before the Salmon Commission memorandum, someone told a British officer, David, he was the DC Koreman, Deputy Commissioner of Koreman. So I mean, I learned something like that, and then later on we see that Salmon Commission, the memorandum to the Salmon Commission, and mind you, the Salmon Commission was signed on behalf of all the Nagas, and they made it very clear that we are a few educated Nagas at this moment, and therefore this is what we write for all the Nagas. So these are a little historical facts that I wanted to share with you. This is our history. Basing on this history, as it was imminent that it was going to be decolonized, it was imminent that the British were leaving this part of the world, the Nagas at that time started thinking about the future of all of us. Where will we be? We cannot be a part of India, because the moment you become a part of a nation, it's like a family, and a family must, a family must have a conducive atmosphere, unconditional acceptance of who we are. But our forebears realized that one group of the Indian family would not accept us because we eat pork. Another group will not accept us because we eat beef. How can we be a family to that one? This is the lighter vein, but so we can't be. We look different also, and we have our own land. So for the Nagas, basing on the Salmon Commission, they started asserting their right to a nation and the right to, therefore, a right to sovereignty. And this is for all the Nagas. And then probably the Indian government also came to know about what the Nagas must be thinking, or at least the British government knew about what the Nagas were talking and what the Nagas were thinking. And then, what they were thinking. So, Nehru, in fact, in 1944, Nehru, in fact, in 1944, talked about the Naga tribal areas, the frontier areas that do not belong to India or to Burma. Okay, he talked about those areas that are free, and then the Nagas were trying to defend their land and to protect their land and our people and the culture. But then they were also apprehensive about what a dominant people like India would do to us, to the Nagas, and deprive us of our right. So they started a lot of negotiation and parleys were taking place. And in 1946 June, Akbar Haidari, the governor of Assam at that time, came to Nagaland and signed Akbar Haidari Agreement, 9-point Akbar Haidari in 1946, saying that Nagas will be allowed to determine their own future, and then Nagas can have this thing, and under the guardianship of another, maybe India, but Nagas thought of the British to be their guardianship. And then it was signed by Akbar Haidari, but then later on, India denied that they ever signed such an agreement, saying that it was before independence. So the Akbar Haidari agreement did not take place. Even before the Akbar Haidari, the British also thought of a Copeland plan, they call it. They wanted to make the Naga area, inclusive of other hill area, as a kind of a British territory, I think in terms of like Hong Kong. But to which the Nagas said, no, we don't want anything to do with anyone. Leave us alone to determine our own future. And then, even after signing the Akbar Haidari agreement, the Nagas were not so sure. So to make it very clear, they went and met Mahatma Gandhi in July 1946, whereby Mahatma Gandhi said, the very reason that the British are leaving is because we do not want to live under the British. And as much as I would think of India as a garden of flower, and where Nagas also have another flower in that garden. But if you say you're not in India, you have every right, to declare your independence. So the Nagas basing on those things, and to be clear, in the history, they declared their independence on 14 August 1947. So I think this is what our forebears did for us in their time. Like maybe today what we do, maybe it should have some fruit for our future. But this is what we did. And this is the truth of our history. This is the truth of our history. And now when we stand by this truth, we find that basing on this truth of our history, we did have the plebiscite in 1951, May 1951, whereby the Nagas gave the thumb impression that they wanted sovereignty and independence as their right. When this was presented to Nehru in 1952, 11 November, Nehru went berserk, saying that let heaven and earth fall, let the rivers in India run red with blood, but I will not give independence to India, to the Nagas. Now, initially he was, 1944, he said that those frontier areas that do not belong to India or to Burma. But now he said, no, I will not give independence to Nagas. And then, but on one occasion in 1952, on 7 August, it's quite surprising that what he spoke in the parliament. He said, I'm just quoting what he spoke in the parliament in August 7, 1952. On 11 March 1952, he talked about he will not give independence to the Nagas. But in 7 August 1952, he's speaking in the parliament saying, we want no people in the territory of India against their will and with the help of the armed forces. We want no forced marriage or forced union. The great Republic of India is a free, voluntary, friendly, and affectionate union of the states of India. Very contradictory, And this is what we find, that the Nagas uphold the truth, but they were people who are trying to demean our truth. And very soon, as we stood solidly for our truth, we found that we had now, in order to remove our truth, or in order to erase our truth, the Armed Forces Special Power Act was imposed in Nagaland. Then we had the Assam Maintenance of Public Order 1956. We had Assam Disturbed Area 1955. Then we had Nagaland Security Regulation Act 1962. In this Nagaland Security, which speaks so much about Armed Forces Special Power Act, which I know all of us are quite familiar, but this Nagaland Security Regulation Act is also very severe, very serious. But I don't think we know much about this. In the Armed Forces Special Power Act, it is the army that is given the power. But in Nagaland Security Regulation Act, it is the police who are empowered. Now the police can shift you from one village to another and put you in concentration camp, And in the 1962 regulation, Governor of Nagaland is empowered. It's just like a colonial power, not like a governor of an Indian to another state. But Governor of Nagaland is empowered, So this is what, in short, I thought maybe this is a little history that I wanted to let you know. But here, there is one Indian, Jai Prakash Narayana, because he was a part of the peace mission in 1964. And after moving around, seeing our Tatar ho-hos and seeing the federal government functioning, he made a statement that there can be no doubt that the Naga struggle can be regarded as a mere law and order problem. I'm just quoting it. It is most certainly a struggle for national freedom. It does not aim at overthrowing a government, but aims at throwing out a government. Jayaprakash Narayan. It does not aim at overthrowing a government, but throwing out a government, namely the government of India, which it regards, so this is also another Jayaprakash Narayan. He didn't just say it, but after having it. So this is how we have gone through. And as a people, I find that even up to now, we can see that they have used three human elements of greed, fear, and desire for power. I think government of India, because this is a battle of the mind now, it's a headhunting, not a physical headhunting, but it's a headhunting of another variety. And in this headhunting, they don't use Tao. I think they use this element of fear, greed, and desire for power. And this has really played havoc with our Naga people, whereby we see that the first division among the Nagas came about as underground, overground. And now we are so fragmented and so divided that we are Nagaland Nagas, Manipur Nagas, this Naga, that Naga. We are so fragmented and so divided that we are finding it so difficult to now call ourselves, even as a Naga. But we can't forget what Oliver Cromwell, not Oliver Cromwell, the one who wrote 1984. Who?
George Oswald.
Is it Oswald or George Orwell?
Orwell.
Yeah, George Orwell. George Orwell wrote and said that if you want to make the people, if you want to see that people are not annihilated, killed, but if you want to see that there are no more, if you want to destroy, let me get it, if you want to destroy the identity of a people, if you want to destroy the identity of the people, you have to destroy their history. If you destroy their history, then the identity of the people will be lost. That is what he detected after being a police officer under the British government and working in Burma for very many years. If you want to destroy the identity of the people, you can destroy their history. And in a way, we find that we being children of oral historians, we have not read our history, or we do not know our history. Whatever little history that we hear about is passed me down. That is an oral history. We have not studied Naga history, colleges or universities. Neither did we study in schools. So this is where we are today. And maybe I thought, as of now, maybe I thought our identity is very important. And our identity has to be founded on our history. And our history is founded on the truth. Any kind of settlement or any kind of solution that is honorable, it has to be based on the truth. If it is not based on our history, on the truth of our history, I don't think it can be honorable. I don't think it can be honorable. And now, because the truth that we have, our Nagas, we believe in bottom-up approach, not top-down approach. I think that is democratic, that is democracy that the Nagas understand. And we also must try to understand that India, though an ancient nation and an ancient civilization, but democratically, I think they are also quite young. Democracy form of government, I think they are quite young. And the kind of democracy that they are experimenting now doesn't seem to be democratic at all. At least in the 16-point agreement, when it was signed, they said Nagaland state that comes into being as the 16th state of the Union of India will be under the External Affairs Ministry. But by 1972, unilaterally they transferred it into Home Ministry. And the Nagaland Assembly passed a resolution saying that you can't do this unilaterally, but there was no response at all. So is that democracy? And the kind of democracy that we are seeing today with Kashmir, that they can just draw the boundary. And whereas for the Nagas, we want to live as a people together. And we have any boundary of India, but they can redraw boundary in Jammu and Kashmir. So we are caught in that kind of a situation today. And I think these are very challenging times. But in order to respond to challenges, we have to respond. We have to find ways to respond appropriately, because that conflict situation that we have gone on for so long in our Naga country has taken its toll. In fact, the famous historian Arnold Toynbee said, the whole history of mankind can be summarized only with two words: challenges and response. Our Nagas, because of our political conflict, we have paid a very heavy price. Not just the loss of life and property, but we also have suffered tremendous, mental health issues. In fact, most of us would invariably could be having, or many of us would be having, post-traumatic stress disorder. And post-traumatic stress disorder, not seen, but not healed. It's an unhealed wound, but it can affect your decision making. It can provoke your hatred, it can provoke your suspicion, it can provoke your trust, and it can provoke your greed. Because then many who did not respond, many wrongfully responded, especially in the mid-80s to mid-90s. As a professional, you all know that I'm from the mental health background. As a professional, I have seen almost an epidemic form of substance abuse. And we lost able young people. And today I think those people, those young people who lost their life to addiction at that time, 85 to 95, if those young, able, entirely intelligent people did not succumb to addiction, we would not be having leadership crisis today. But today we see there's leadership crisis. Of course, that is what I feel, that there is some vacuum in our leadership. And by Naga tradition, we look upon leaders with certain dignity and honor. I think that mindset is still there, that when you say that he is my leader, you have full faith, trust that he will lead you, and he will lead you into victory or into the right path or into the proper places or into the right destination as a leader. But today we are finding our leaders to be contradictory to what is there in our mind. So that's why I used to think that somebody will go to a Naga leader and will speak the best of words that is in his mind, but for some favor. But after he gets that favor, or if he doesn't get his favor, after going and speaking to him in his house, and then by the time he walk out of his house, he will be condemning and criticizing him like anything. This is because of that contradiction in our mindset about what a true leader is, or what you expect a leader to be, but what you find. But inevitably you cannot do without that leader also. So we are in that kind of a situation. These are the crises that we see today. But then, if only we have a strong identity, we will be able to welcome a stranger also. We will be able to accept another person also as a friend. But if only we have, I feel that India also suffers from sense of insecurity, because they don't have very strong identity as an Indian. I don't know about the Naga, I mean our Nagas, but because why would India want to empower themselves with such draconian laws, like armed forces, special power, like Nagaland special, why would they need such a thing? They are so powerful to their, they may say they are powerful, but so I find that India also in a way suffer from some the insecurity. So anyway, I will just stop here for a moment. I think I spoke too long, but I'll just stop here. And I'd just like to tell you that we can be strong only when we take care of the weak people. We can be invulnerable only when we take care of them. Only when we are concerned about the vulnerable people. We can be rich only when we take care of the poor people. And I think it is true that kind of identity that we have, that kind of a value that we cherish, that probably can lead us to our destination, to our rightful destination, healing our wounds and achieving what we have set out, or what our forebears have set out. We have set out, the very truth is that we are not Indian, we do not hate India, we are not secessionists. We, as tiny as we are a neighbor with India. And as a neighbor, we can also make tremendous contribution to India. So I think, thank you for the patient listening, and I would like to stop here for a moment. Thank you so much.